It's a game I've been really looking forward to for a while now, which is Atomic Heart. It actually gives me like Prey 2 vibes when I first saw it. So to me, I'm like, okay, like anything even close to Prey 2 is definitely going to be something I want to pay attention to. So, oh, so crazy. I've been watching Force Gaming stuff for a long time. I can't believe I wasn't subscribed. Okay, well, do that and make sure the volume.
Hey everyone.
Yeah. All right, let's take a look.
Welcome back. Today I want to take a closer look at the upcoming stylish narrative-driven first-person shooter that goes by the name Atomic Heart. This is the game that got revealed, I want to say about 5 years
like even
ago,
the enemies
and
look
almost
really
immediately drew some pretty strong comparisons to Bio.
I don't think it's gonna look this good when it comes out though. I don't know. I feel like most of the time when you see trailers looking this good, it never like actually looks that good.
Shock, just kind of in terms of its setting and its theming, but also obvious comparisons to Half-Life, and after some recent gameplay reveals, apparently Portal as well, as there will be a fairly strong emphasis on puzzle solving and kind of making your way through areas of the world. So I want to kind of dive into a bit about what we know about the game, everything there is in terms of details and reveals that are coming out.
If he doesn't show them, I'll look them up after.
Because this is going to be launching in about a month from now, and I think there's potentially something to look forward to here. So Atomic Heart is set in an alternate history Soviet city where a mega corporation has created a fleet of robots to take on every difficult mundane task, so humans can just kind of sit back, take it easy. And the game opens up with you playing as Agent P3, partaking in the festivities of a massive celebration in this location in a kind of floating city. After not too long, however, things go awry. The AI goes rogue and has some plans to do things not conducive to human life. Basically, things go bad very quickly, and now you are in a fight for your life to try to figure out what happened, how it happened, and find a way to fix it. Now, the initial trailers for this game kind of led me to believe that this was going to be a very linear, story-driven adventure. It turns out it's kind of more of a mix. Apparently, Atomic Heart will offer a combination between open-world gameplay, more linear corridor shooting, and puzzle solving.
That almost gives me like Metro vibes, like the most recent Metro game,
as we explore through this facility 3826. So after playing through that intro, you emerge into what is the open world, where you will evidently be spending your time while traveling in between the game's numerous facilities. From the early impressions, it seems like this space is going to be most useful for farming loot and resources, as much of the overworld is just full of enemies. Just about everywhere you go, you'll be seeing groups of various types of robots, and there is an alarm system. These kind of camera detection things that are usually hoisted up on poles, known as dandelion cams. If any of these catch you fighting with the robots engaged in combat, they will trigger calling in reinforcements and raising the alarm level. Sometimes these reinforcements will be constructed on the fly right in front of you. Other times they'll be dropped from the sky in these massive crates, of which pop open and reveal just a ton of already made enemies that will charge towards you. So apparently the open world will...
That's like GTA's cop system. Like the stars.
Involve a bit of exploration. There is some freedom of movement, like you're able to climb various types of terrain. There is swimming, there are zip lines, and there are cars. But it does seem like there isn't much to do in this space, sort of beyond walking around and fighting enemies. Not a lot of systems or features to engage with. I don't want you to consider this open world part of Atomic Heart something similar to like an open world Ubisoft game where there's activities and things you can do all over the place. It's just kind of an open space that has some enemies you can fight with and you can move around. The occasional boss fight, but for the most part, that's what it is. Fortunately, though, this is all broken up, and where kind of the gameplay and systems get a little more interesting is through these facilities. So these include things like various laboratories, testing stations, power plants, underground complexes, various
like Elden Ring's like mini dungeons
locations that function basically like these narrative-driven dungeons. So you'll find the entrance somewhere in the open world, and maybe sometimes you'll need to locate a key or flip a switch or solve a mini game puzzle to open the door and then begin exploring
It's actually
inside.
pretty cool.
But it's going to be more than just moving through corridors and rooms while fighting enemies. Facilities are primarily there to expand the story, discover secrets, fight bosses, and solve lots and lots of puzzles. In one of the previews, I saw them refer to the facilities basically as puzzle boxes. So will do some fighting, but then you'll come across a puzzle to solve, which might open the door to another room, couple more fights, and then another puzzle, rinse and repeat. As you move through various rooms, you will come across a variety of levers, pulleys, switches, magnetized platforms, floating water columns, hidden doors, all sorts of obstacles and objects to engage with to figure out your way to gain access to the next area and progress forward. There will be doors that are locked with a variety of lock-picking types, multiple mini-game variations like find a pattern to open the door, go through a Skyrim-style lockpick system to open the door, or snap your finger to the beat of a rhythm that comes out of a lock to open a door. These facilities do appear to be the most interesting bit of not only the fact that it's going to be where the storytelling is going to be taking place, but that this is where you will be getting a majority of the puzzle stuff, a majority of a lot of the boss fights, and then also have things like bits of platforming sections where you have to move through the environment and figure out your way to the next area. Pretty interesting, and again, this does appear to be where most of the more engaging content compared to the overworld is going to be located. All right, next I want to move on to talk about combat, which is personally
and I actually really don't mind that at all. That's perfectly fine. Like if the open world seems to be like where you grind, and then these are like the actual like dungeons and like progression.
My favorite part of any action game, any shooter. But first, let me stretch my legs, stand up, and get a word from the sponsor of today's video. Today's video is sponsored by the FlexiSpot Pro Plus Standing Desk E7. They sent me one a few weeks ago, and I've been really enjoying it. For one, my last desk was like ever so slightly too high for the height of my chair, and some days when I'd be at the computer for like 10 or so hours, my shoulders or elbows or forearms would start bugging me. But now with the FlexiSpot,
that's pretty cool.
I can adjust it to whatever height I want. It's at the perfect height, but also it is a standing desk, which means now I can occasionally stand while working or gaming. It's not my norm by any means. I'll do it for maybe 15 to 20 minutes here and there, but I feel like that alone has made a big difference in how I feel at the end of the day, rather than just sitting for 10 hours straight. I can stand occasionally and still do stuff at the computer. Some of the desk features include they're powered by dual motor engines with sturdy design that can hold up to 355 pounds. It's got an LCD keypad panel, which allows for programmable memory presets with a large height range from 22.8 to 48.4 inches. It also comes with a USB port, which I use to charge my phone during the day, and they also come with a 15-year warranty.
That's really not
so if
bad.
you're interested in checking out the FlexiSpot Pro Plus Standing Desk E7, be sure to use my link in the description below. Okay, so now let's talk about combat in Atomic Heart. It does seem like this is going to be a mix of both melee and range. You'll have a variety of blunt and bladed melee weapons with options for light and heavy attacks, and then that will mix up with different types of elemental magic as well as range weapons. The developer has said they do expect it to be like
it's
a
mainly
50-50 split.
shooting.
You do not have unlimited ammo, but as you progress through the game, you'll be able to increase your capacity and find more weapons so that you can use range more often. From the previews as well, it does appear like early on you'll be doing a lot of the melee system, but then you will open up to having more abilities to use and more range weapons at your disposal as
hopefully the melee doesn't become obsolete, because I actually like doing melee builds in these kind of games.
As you progress through the game. Apparently they do also have this system where as you engage in melee combat, you will accumulate energy, and then that energy can be used for shooting some of these special energy weapons that they have. Speaking of which, the different weapon types will also correlate to different vulnerabilities against some enemies that you fight. So maybe particular enemies will be vulnerable to bladed weapons versus blunt weapons, slashing versus piercing, so on and so on. In terms of the abilities or the magic variation in this game, it all stems from shooting out of the special glove that you have and consists of a few different elemental types. We've seen a variety of different electrocute abilities, some shock, some in like various waves, chain lightnings. We've also seen a variety of different freezing type abilities.
I gotta admit, like, they seem more utility based, which is a bit of a shame. I kind of wish there was more abilities that just would straight up wreck things.
Abilities, these polymer bombs, and just lots of use of this polymer, kind of this gooey substance, some of which even includes for setting various trap types, so you can lay down a trap, and then these can be imbued with electricity or ice or fire. And then there's also the grav ability, the levitate, the ability to launch enemies in the sky and then keep them suspended there as you shoot them or hit them with
Probably borderline useless on bosses, though, to be fair.
Else. Range weapons appear to include the standard suite that you might expect, from ranging from pistols, rifles, SMGs, shotguns, and even RPGs, all with the potential to get elemental modifiers to enhance them more, and even some kind of more experimental type weapons. Enemies, as you damage them, will show visible damage, so like metal casings will open up, exposing some of the wires and machinery beneath. Every type of robot, like we just mentioned, will also have specific damage types that they're weak to, and then there's also going to be various weak points. A lot of these will be glowing, which you can hit for extra damage. Did also touch on the fact that there will be some stealth
It's a good amount of enemy variety, just in like the little gameplay he's kind of shown. Well, not him, obviously, but like they've shown so far. Like, it's a pretty decent amount.
But this is not a stealth game. So when using certain weapons, quieter weapons, you can take out enemies silently without attracting attention. Remember, there is that alarm system. So if you raise too much of a fuss, alarm level goes up and more enemies get summoned in. So being stealthy can certainly play to your advantage, but it's not a game where you can do a full stealth playthrough. You're not going to be able to really do a stealth
Goombas
build
with like
and go around
chainsaws on their
completely
heads.
silently. There's going to be a lot of in-your-face, outright combat required. It's just at times there will be sections of the game where you can try to use stealth to your advantage. And then to that, there is also an X-ray vision power in this game where you can see through walls, highlighting things like nearby enemies, loot, or other valuable items.
I wonder if that's something you unlock,
let's also
like
talk
later.
a bit about the enemies. In the previews released so far, we've seen I'd say somewhat decent variety of enemy types. Really, it seems to boil down to a handful of ones you will be seeing very frequently. So there are these, it's called the VOV A6. These are the most human-like robots. They seem to appear average human height and build, and they're very fast and nimble. These are also self-repairing, and this is just the one that we've seen most in the gameplay. The most abundant, typically in groups, large groups, with running straight at the player, and then beyond charging, they also have the ability to shoot these lasers out of their faces, which, yep, that's not fun. And then there are the laborers. These
that look like a sword, not a laser out of his face. Let me go back.
Groups running like straight at the player, and then beyond charging, they also
like this guy here
have the ability to shoot these lasers out of their faces. Which,
like he has like a weapon in his hand. So that wasn't out of his face.
Yep, that's not fun. And then there are the laborers. These are the kind of cute short ones that hobble around on two legs. Not so cute is the fact that they've got this long extendable arm that has a saw blade at the end of it. They can use it to kind of lunge out at you, to hurl themselves forward. They can also throw the saw blade in sort of like
really
boomerang style.
I've not seen an enemy like that.
A lot of the robots
I can remember.
Here, they alternate from like, oh, that's kind of cute, to, oh my gosh, that's terrifying. A really good design, by the way, I just want to say. Visually, aesthetically, the game in general, I think, has a really pleasant appearance to it, but I do think as well a lot of the robot designs very almost appealing and unsettling simultaneously. They did, I really do appreciate the character design they did for the enemies in this game. Other enemy types we've seen frequently are
these guys remind me of like the Fallout people, like from Fallout, what was it, 3, I think, due to Jeeves or
robots
like
with the big barrel red chest, these round white heads, and they move around on 4 little wheels, kind of like an office chair, gliding towards you with these extended arms that have spinning blades attached on the end. We've seen these flying repair bots, also a mix of this kind of zombie-like infected humans. It seems like there's some fungal or plant-based infection that takes humans over and completely destroys them. It turns them into, again, zombie-like creatures. And then a variety of
kind of look like the not Last of Us. Maybe that's what I'm thinking.
Different interesting
Kinda
mini bosses. Early impressions, by the way, have indicated that the boss fights seem to be fairly well designed and fun, at least from the people who got to play test it early. The best example we've seen was against the Hedgie boss. This was a massive spherical
the boss fights looked really cool.
Tons of movement and attacks that involve hurling itself.
Like, I almost like everything about this game I've seen so far. I think the only thing that may bring it down would be probably how the story plays out. Because, like, the combat looks really cool. I do wish you could do more with your abilities, but who knows, that could change. Maybe higher level you unlock abilities that actually are like devastating. But yeah, everything
around.
else
So
I
we've
really
seen that
like.
it can pull in its limbs and then roll straight forward in a line towards the player, or also where it roots
Damn,
with one
that's
limb
like a
in
freaking
place,
MMO raid
spinning
boss.
around on its axis, gaining momentum before kind of launching into the air and slamming down. A bunch of different slam attacks, all which have caused this red ring shockwave to move in all directions that the player has to
That's
jump
actually pretty
over. We
cool.
also see it just in
Yeah,
general moving in large
there's like a lot of mechanics for a shooter like this kind of games boss fighting.
arcs at high speed around this arena, making passes at the player
Damn.
that are difficult to dodge. And then one attack where it hoists itself up on two limbs and then while suspended in the air, quickly spins and spins and spins, creating a vortex that sucks the player in before releasing an explosion that you have to dodge. There's also been a few different mini boss fights that we've seen, like the one
This
against
is the one I've
Plyish,
seen.
this skinless mass of tendrils that does a lot of different jumping and lunging around. Also at one point it pins down the player, which requires some quick time event button mashing basically in order to break free. Not my favorite gameplay thing to do, but hey, whatever. What are you gonna do? I do want to mention as well a couple
Yeah, I don't mind button mashing ones. I don't like it when it's a quick time thing. I much prefer like just spam one button.
other interesting things. The game does have crafting and progression. So the loot system in the game, you're going to get all sorts of different mechanical parts that you suck up from enemy corpses.
That's
Your glove
kind of
has
cool
like this vacuum
animation when you're looting.
ability where you use
Look at
telekinetic
that.
power to just literally hoover up all of the loot
Yeah.
in the area, which is kind of interesting. And then you'll take all of these
Looks
bits
cool
and
to me.
bobs, all these different elements, and then bring it to the crafting system. You'll get recipes and then make the variety of melee and ranged weapons, of which there are reportedly 13 in total. However, those can then be upgraded where you can add modifiers and
I was gonna say that didn't sound like much.
elemental effects. Also, there's going to be 3 difficulty types in the game: story, medium, and hard. The music is done by Mick Gordon of Doom fame. Really good OST from what we've heard in these early trailers. Seems pretty solid. They've said that the game's length, the campaign, will range between 20 and 25 hours total. Now, while
That's
I have
really
heard
not
and
bad.
seen a fair amount of positive from the early impressions of this game and just my impressions from what I've seen so far of it, one of the biggest criticisms that I've seen early on is that the game feels kind of a bit flat, specifically when you're taking a look at the overworld, but just in general, it seems like a lot of it is you're shooting, you're doing the puzzle solving, but there isn't a ton of interaction with the world.
Yeah.
Let me tell you what
I'd agree
I'm
with that.
talking about. As an example, they've said there's basically nothing in the environments that you can interact and engage with besides the enemies.
There's no like quests, like no things that you can do out in the world. Um like you're not gonna run into a survivor who you're gonna have to help. Maybe that's what they're talking about. Which I think is fair criticism. I think they could have done more with their open world.
You can't turn on the tap water. You can't flip the lights. You can't shoot out the lights. Mirrors don't reflect the protagonist character that you're playing at. You can't
Really?
smash through windows. You can't circumvent doors that are sealed shut. You can't kind of really
That I don't have a problem with. I think that most games should like look, we didn't do anything with this house, it's locked. Move on. Like I have no problem with that. There's plenty of games like that. Can't smash through windows. I guess it depends. Like some windows you should be able to. Others, most, like for example, on a window in a sealed house, yeah. But if you're in a house that is open to you, it doesn't make sense to me that you wouldn't be able to smash through that window. Yeah. I mean, I don't see those as big deals, but I can definitely see that being a critique.
engineer your way through these different areas. There is in every spot of the world a single clear path, and you have to follow it. It just seems like there isn't going to be a lot of variety, a lot of player agency for how you interact with the world. The world is built, it is static, and it is fairly flat. You just engage with the NPCs, you shoot out the alarms, and you solve the puzzles.
Isn't that most cases? Maybe they're expecting Elden Ring, where you can like mega like the when you get into like the big actual areas, like the castle and stuff. Because outside of that, like for example, if you're just running around like the beginning area, there's not really anything you interact with. You got the dude who says you don't have any maidens, and then you have the chick who eventually, you know, gives you becomes your maiden. Like take away the NPCs and the enemies and it's dead. Like there's nothing you can do. You can't interact with anything. other than like breaking boxes. Maybe that's what they're referring to, which is like such a weird thing to like nitpick on. Like I can't break boxes. It's like, and like I don't know. It's nice, but it's like to me wouldn't have made the game worse or better.
All of the little kind of more fine tuning things that might seem just like unnecessary extras, but kind of do help flesh out a lot of games like this, especially considering this is a single player game. All of that little stuff that you might have gotten in something like Half-Life or in BioShock isn't something that you're going to be getting here. One more quote here: there's little to see beyond shooting galleries of organic and robotic enemy variants. Test sites provide some respite with these small puzzle box distractions from a distinct layer of environmental storytelling in these walled valleys. Polymer powers let you control the elements, though they don't appear to combine as fluidly as BioShock's plasmids. Consider this an expectation reset. It does seem like Atomic Heart is certainly visually very appealing. The design, again, of their robots and just the appearance of the world, the play space that you're in, is very good. And it seems like the gameplay might be very good, albeit a bit bullet spongy. That was another point of criticism.
Oh, I'll probably play it on like medium then. Like if that's all it is. I don't like bullet. Like when you increase the difficulty, all it is more of a bullet sponge thing. Like I guess Forspoken is ran into that issue, but the first time I really ran into it was the Division games. Like that, it was crap.
Criticism that I saw from early hands-on tests, and even just from the gameplay trailers, with just like multiple clips and swings to the head before any of these creatures go down, which, you know, hey, they're like super robots, right? So it kind of makes sense, but bullet sponginess, it's a fine line. Before breaking the verisimilitude is one thing. Assault rifle rounds shouldn't be one-shotting these robots, I get that, but then also entertaining gameplay that has a good pace.
Like the time to kill versus how many enemies there are doesn't seem to be ideal. Like they don't balance out well, and I can definitely agree with if that's a criticism. Like I don't know, I'll play it on medium, see how it goes. If I feel like I'm taking them down too quick, I'll put it to hard. If it's still like bullet spongy on medium, I'll just put story, because to me I don't really like bullet spongy isn't like a difficulty thing to me. So
pacing to it is
it's annoying.
Another thing, and that's a fine line, and we'll see how they balance it out. Again, do keep in mind there are multiple difficulty options, so that in and of itself could be enough of an answer. In general, though, I have liked what I've seen of Atomic Heart. I think the world looks cool. I do appreciate that there's this mix of open world, linear, facility, dungeon type things, and all of this.
Yeah, I mean, like, here's the thing. I'm not expecting another Elden Ring. Like, absolutely not. But I am expecting a very solid game. Like a 7 out of 10, 8 out of 10 kind of thing. Where it's like, it's not going to blow me away with anything, but I'm going to have fun. I'll beat the game most likely. Yeah, that's all I really look forward to with like games coming out. Like if they come out and they're Elden Ring level, awesome, you know? But I try not to get myself hyped up too much, because it's like, how many games are going to come out that are at that level? So when they do come out, you know, it's a surprise, it's good. And if they don't come out like that, I'm not really disappointed. Like I keep my expectations not exactly low, but I think fair might be the better word here.
Puzzle solving in between in terms of the narrative and dialogue and stuff. We'll see how that ends up playing out, but in general I do think there's quite a bit to look forward to Atomic Heart. It's seeming fairly interesting, and it launches in just about a month from now, so we'll see how it all plays out. But that's gonna do it for today's preview video.
Yeah, it's
thank you so much for joining me. Hope you enjoy it. I'll see you in the next one.
Yeah, this is of course by Force Gaming. Big fan of his stuff. Been watching his videos for a long time now. And yeah, I don't think he really... Yeah, he did show the trailers. He even showed the boss fight. Yeah, no, I mean, the game looks really cool. Looks fun, which to me is really all I care about. Like, I guess for people who want to be super immersed in the game, that's not really going to happen, because I guess you can't break windows. And I'm not saying it, like, in a mean way or anything like that. What I mean is I don't really look to be immersed in my games. I know a lot of people see that as, like, a big deal. I really don't. If I want to be immersed in something, I usually read a book. That's how I can get immersed into things. Me, I play video games. When I play my video games, it's to have fun. Like, if the game's fun, that's really all that matters to me. If it has anything else with it, that's even better. But first and foremost, if it's not, like, if the gameplay isn't fun to me, then I'm not going to play it. So, And this actually looks really cool, or like a lot of fun, like especially the boss fights. So